All right, guys. So we're recording. This is from the inside out with Ronnie on the spot, Chris Curtis, and the Sandman. Now that I'm in here alone, so it's probably not going to be anything near as smooth as it usually is. But we're going to address a few things. We're going to get a few things out of the way. We're going to show you a couple things too, And here's the deal: when somebody say, uneducated, unintelligent, and all of that, and I told them a few things that what I'm going to do is flash them up on the green screen tonight. Um, I'm going to flash my certifications for paralegal. All right. But that's basically just a foundation course. Then I'm going to show my certifications for advanced corporate law. I'm going to show it for advanced real estate law, advanced business law, and several advanced certificates. I'm also going to show you the psychological courses, the psychology courses, and all that I was taking in college. And then I'm going to show you the letter from the dean that displays the fact that I was on the dean's list for what I did, where I carried a 4.0. Okay. And that was to become a alcohol and drug specialist, all right, which I eventually did. So, and then I'm also going to show you, I tell you about these programs that I do, and I've had guys come on and tell me, oh, yeah, I can make them certificates up on the computer or on my phone right here. Yeah, but you can't put my nonprofit on there. You can't put the curriculum I do in there, and you can't put my signature on it, which carries the weight. And then there's also something else. You won't get what the mayor of Soledad gave me, one of 5 people throughout the Department of Corrections in California that was awarded recognition from the city of Soledad for the programs that I wrote. And it wasn't just the city. It wasn't just the mayor of the city of Soledad. She gave me the award. And then also the senator of that district. I believe it was the 12th district. I don't have it in front of me. I'm going to go home, get them all, and pin them up here for you to see. And the senator of I believe it was the 12th district, recognized what I had did with my veterans program and whatnot, the Veterans Life Skills Program. And that's all on there. So you guys that are knocking the fact that I choose, even before I got out, to start helping other people get out, you're really just a loser. You're more of a loser out here taking that stance than you were when you were in there. Okay? Because I'm going to flash on this board the fact that what I did with my time. And I chose it to start bettering myself. I chose it to do programs that help people better themselves and get out. Let's face it, all right? The negative comments that come through here, I get a lot of my content from those. I get a chance to, get out and get after it. Negative comments are good. I don't want you to stop because here's the thing, right? While you're in that comment section typing up your negative comments, you're going down as a view. Cha-ching, cha-ching. So if you really took issue with what I said, right? And look, how I live tomorrow or the next day has nothing to do with the success or failure of this podcast. This podcast is owned by the nonprofit. Anything generated from it goes to the nonprofit. My money is literally where my mouth is. I didn't get on talk a good game. It's all for real. So anything that's generated here goes into the nonprofit. Okay, so all you're hurting by I'm gonna unsubscribe. Well, you just hurt my money really goes to help people, and that's all you're doing. So the negative comments, if it takes a guy 30 seconds to write a negative comment, and it takes somebody 30 seconds to write a positive comment, guess what? It's still 30 seconds, man. So you know what? Fuck it. Hit me with your best shot. I dig it. Call me PC, scaredy cat, all them fucking names that they really don't fit, so I don't wear them. All right. I showed you the paperwork that says I paroled, still a validated member. And everybody says, yeah, well, you were on this yard, blah, 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 right? Well, nobody told me to stay on that yard. Okay? Nobody told me personally to leave that yard. But I'm not answering to them cats. They're going to tell me what the fuck to do. I'm a grown ass man. Period. All right. And when you start dangling the fact that I can go home without telling anybody, without debriefing, without dropping out, without doing any of that, and all I had to do was just kick back and continue going to school and doing the things and writing the programs and running the programs, and I get to go home. Well, I'm going to do that. Okay. And you guys say being on this yard makes you some kind of whatever it is you call it, but you're dead wrong. You're wrong. Some time ago, okay, those tips got together and started telling people to stay over there, go over there and go home. Cat had a certain amount of time. They told him, no, go home, because it was really starting to hurt their bottom line. And that's where that's at right now. Okay. If you look it up and you can check it out and you can get the statistics, okay, 78% of all people who went home last year went home from what they are now designating as 50-50 yards. Okay. That means that 22% is all there was leaving any yard that hadn't been designated a 50-50 yard. And that includes, because they established that it's different, that SMY, pure SMY, is different from a 50-50, is different from those 4 GP yards that are left. Trying to explain that to you buffoons is impossible, because, I mean, you are who you are, right? You're the unintelligent calling people unintelligent. And you also claim that here I am, did the same thing Dubs did. Well, no, me and Dubs are completely different. All right. I didn't check in. I was on a yard that was GP, and we knew it was coming, and they were switching them. And I made a choice myself to continue on writing my programs and doing the things that, when my case got before the judge or anybody else for resentencing, would give me my best chance of getting out. And it did. All the programs and stuff I wrote had that judge saying, man, if not you, who? He goes, I don't believe in any of these new laws, but he goes, if not you, then who? And so that judge, so he didn't still have to follow any of the new laws, resentenced me in a way that they ended up owing me 6 years, because when I first got sentenced and I was so out of control and hitting everything that fucking moved and did everything I could, shackled up, chained up, locked up all the time, they ran all my time bow-legged. So the judge says, here's what I'm going to do, and it's within my power. I'm going to take your Fed time, and I'm going to run it concurrent with your state time, and that's going to put you out. We owe you 6 years now. And I got out 6 months later, discharged parole, because I appealed it, and they owed me the time still that discharged my parole. Now, the judge did it that way because he didn't want to resentence me under the new laws. He never had done that under the new laws, and he still wanted to be able to say that, whatever arrogance that is. Either way it went, I was getting out. And I chose my wife. I chose my dog. I chose my home that's completely paid off. I chose this Denali sitting right outside there that I drive with 3 TVs in it. I chose this 30-foot toy hauler that I can pull my Harley Davidsons up into, 2 of them. I can go anywhere I want, roll them out, put this podcast up here and help some people. And all those things I just told you about right now, those are mine. It didn't come from the nonprofit. It didn't come from any of this stuff. That was all mine before all this stuff got started. All right. And that's just because I am who I am. And I function how I function. And anybody that knows me will tell everybody all of Ronnie's disjointed and destructive life, he has never, ever done without. Because I ain't built like that. All right. My motto was, if I ever sit on a curb and go, damn, I was living better in prison, some connection was going to lose his dope. Because I was grabbing a pistol and going at it, going after it right then and there. That was my mind thought. That's how I was. So I got out. I got a little going on, things put together. And so I own all that. That's where I'm at. So when I tell you that this podcast, right, whether it generates funds or don't, I'm still going to get in that fucking car that has 3 TVs, smoked out tinted windows, 6.2 liter motor in it, I'm still going to have this where I can pull my bikes in it with me and my wife and go on vacation and do what we want to do. I'm still going to have all of that. I'd like to see this succeed. I'd like to see thousands and thousands hit subscribe on this channel right here because this money is extra. This money generates money straight in to the nonprofit. Okay. It don't all go to prisons and people in prison, but I'm going to be honest with you, a large portion of it does. But then another portion of it goes to helping kids, man, and and it's in a whole bunch of different ways. I see. Okay, so and look, I'll polygraph to this stuff. I'm getting a polygraph test for this, and I keep telling you. But as things go on, all I'll have to do on the polygraph is say, "Hey, Ronnie, have you told the truth?" Yes, I have. And needle won't move. And then I want to use that polygraph on a couple other people. Dubs, maybe you'll sign up to get on it and do the get down, see where you're at. Nevertheless, so I get on that and everything, and I had a train of thought. It kind of lost it. It happens. So, anyways, where this is going to go is I'd like to see as many people as I can get hit subscribe because it helps. It helps them kids. And oh, here's where I was going with it. I was going through to California and I was in Las Vegas. I was traveling through Nevada. I went around instead of coming down through Northern California. I was heading up San Bernardino way, and I came down through Vegas. And so I was at, I believe it was McDonald's, Burger King, McDonald's. I pulled off into this little fast food joint to get a quick something to eat. And this guy pulls up, and he's got kids in it. Let me tell you something: black, white, Mexican. There was the whole array. There was the whole spectrum, and they were all running over and talking to me. And they seen one of the TVs going, "Cool, cool. Can we look?" And boom, yeah, go ahead, man. And, I got to talking to the guy, and he was a that was their basketball team, and he was from some southern state, and it was everything they could gather up, right, to get them kids down there to play basketball in this tournament that was going on. And they'd even beat the kids that were a couple of grades higher than them, you know, that just the night before. And they had that was outside of their tournament. They were just playing, right? They were a pretty good team. But what they couldn't afford were jerseys, you know? And so I just told them, hey, man, here's the deal. Get all their food. I got that. And I'm going to give you X amount. Go get them guys all the jerseys, line them up, make them look good while they're beating everybody. And they got all that. There's things you never know where it's going to take place or anything. But when I say it's at-risk youth, that guy was taking those kids who would otherwise be out on the street learning terrible things to do and got them doing something and doing all he could to scrape money to get them down there, right? So it was from one charity to another, bounced it off where he could go and take care of that. I didn't run back and put it on a billboard and all of that. You know, it's just help where you can, and you know and hope it's going to make a difference. Out of that whole team, if them jerseys does something to just one kid with that pride being able to wear it while they won, it's an accomplishment. So the money goes into doing those things and all of that. All right. Um, so I also talked to you guys before, and I showed you about the bomb making that went on, old school, and all of that, right? And that's how that went. So I also told you about a guy on a handball court once that I've seen, and he got hit with a zip tie around his neck. Again, you have your local buffoons that sit by the keyboard and always got a little something, something they want to say. Like I said, hit subscribe, even if you're a buffoon. I like it. View this stuff, even if you're one of the buffoons. I don't care whose nutsack you're on, any of that. If it's dubs or anything, I don't care. Hit subscribe. You know, that's what affects the bottom line. Or unsubscribe if you don't want to be here. Look, I'm an American. It's all about free will. You know, you do what you want to do. I'm gonna keep on keeping on. If I got one person watching what I'm doing, keep on talking to him. If I got nobody, I'm gonna keep on pushing this content, hoping I can get somebody. It's just who I am. Once I start something, I'm not inclined to quit. Now, I told you that, they come up behind that dude on the handball court, cut him, lightweight slipping, right? And they hit him with that zip tie. Boom! And that was the end of it for that dude. He died. He died slow, purple, and fucked up, moonwalking out there on the fucking thing. I showed you how them bombs went. The first one I made to blow that cell up next to me. I also have this. Okay, this is a zip tie. A simple deal. They slide it over that dude's head, right? And they do just like that. And guess what? Game over. Game over. All right. So when they get a hold of you, say, oh, how do they get a hold of those, right? You're full of shit. They don't issue those out. Yeah, I know they don't issue them out, but let me tell you what they do. Okay. Cops will be out on the yard, California and the feds, everywhere, have them on their hip, big old bundles of them. All right. They lose track of one or two, or somebody gets a hold of just one, and that's a body. Somebody's going to die on it. You know what I mean? And somebody got a hold of one, and they took this end and they made a little string handle. I used another zip tie to make it, but they took a string, tied it around it where they can grab it. They came up behind that guy, and it only took them a hot second. Boom, zip, and they got him. Man, they got him. They got him ugly. And that guy stumbled around, dead. Okay. You think for a minute convicts are stupid, not creative, or uneducated. It's you that are uncreative, uneducated, and ignorant, because dudes are creative. You know, find a way to whack a motherfucker if they feel they have to whack a motherfucker. If they're ordered to do it by the tip they're part of. Or even if they feel like this dude's going to get them, and they got a little bit of idea that I better get off first, right? Because things have led to that with me before. And I'll tell you, touchdown in a prison that the ride didn't walk on that yard. Okay. However, this is the way it worked in the feds. The feds are like this, man. If you get off that plane and off that bus into R&D, and they come in there and you let them put you in the hole right then and say you don't walk that yard, it may take you 9 months, a year and a half to get back on the plane to get out of there, and you sit there and rot in that hole. But if you went out to that yard and you got them up and took your lickings or whatever it had coming, you did your thing, you get out of there like within 90 days. And it just seemed the logical thing to do was to test the water. So I hit a joint where they didn't like the ride, didn't like letting them walk the yard, right? There were enemies of the ride, which was mainly because of the California AB. A lot of the ride's enemies came from running with the AB, but that's just neither here nor there. Those are just old politics. Um, so they come in, and SIS, which is the investigative, like the squad in California, comes in and they tell me, yeah, Ronnie, well, you don't walk this yard, so we're going to go ahead. I said, hold on, man. Isn't that up to the yard to decide if I walk this yard? He goes, you want to go out? And I told him, yeah, let the yard decide. I'll go out there, and if I don't walk this yard, I guess you guys are going to know it pretty quick. But let them make that decision. You don't know I don't walk this yard until that decision's made. And so I had to sign a He-Man tough guy Toronto and all that, saying I choose to go out to the yard. And I went out there, boom, went to the building. They put me in the cell. It was count time. And I know that when they open these fucking doors, after this count was done, and they're releasing for chow, somebody's coming for me. That's just the way it is, and I know it. And I'm thinking, fuck. And it was one of them times I didn't have a weapon with me or nothing, and all I really had in that cell was a bedroll. I looked at that bedroll, and I had to make a weapon, some kind of way out of what I had. And I took a towel. State towel, county towel, federal towel, just a plain white towel. And I twisted that towel up in a way that it made a club that would break that table in half. Yeah, sure did. And they let me out. When they let me out, I came out of that cell and I was ready, man. Two dudes got at me. And I handled my business with that fucking club, that towel. And there was nothing inside of it. Simply twisted it up. I was going to show you tonight, but Sam is not here to do everything, and I wasn't ready. So what I'll do is tomorrow or the next night, Just like I showed you with the zip ties, with the bomb, with all of that. You know I ain't full of shit. But I'm going to show you how in that cell that day, I took that towel and I twisted it into a club, a sap that crushed some skulls. It split some fucking skulls out there. It was a pretty good get down. And so don't say we're not creative, man. You know, necessity is the mother of invention, man. And it was necessary that I come out of that cell ready to do everything I could to live long enough to get back on that plane to a place that was good for an LR. But what I wasn't going to do was check in and catch that fucking plane. I'm going to take my fucking licking, you know? And that's how it went, you know? It went like that. I went back to the hole, and a couple months later, I was on Con Air going to another spot. And they sent me there because they knew we didn't walk that fucking line. They knew that I would go out, and they knew that either I'd get hit, beat up, or I'd be able to get lucky and get through without a hole. And I came out on the lucky side that time. It doesn't always happen that way, but you are not in that federal war zone and come away without a fucking lick, without a scratch, and say you were anywhere. Because the feds, especially those United States penitentiaries, yeah, that's an ugly story, and you got to be on your fucking toes. And being on your toes isn't always enough. Sometimes it's just a matter of who gets word first from another joint, and that's another story. But so when it comes down to it and it gets up here, I'm going to show you guys how I twisted that towel up in a way that busted one of them dudes' heads wide open and kept the other one from being able to fucking stab me and put me on Con Air a little bit quicker. Okay. And yeah, so that's coming down too. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep this a little shorter. And another thing is too, I'm going to get off the Dubs thing for a while because I mean it got all the traction that it's going to get, and I mean it might be able to get more, but I'm really tiring of it. You know, uh, people tell me that I'm just like I was the same like Dubs. No, I'm a lot different in a lot of ways. Okay, the yard I left was different than the ones he left from. Okay, he left SNY. I left off a 50-50 yard, but they're telling guys that they can stay there. I didn't play into my decision at all. I didn't care whether guys were being told they can stay there or not. I I made my decision based on my personal circumstances, and I'm happy with it, and I stand by it. But I never told on nobody. I never ran in and debriefed. I never checked in. I never asked for any of that. Nobody had to. What you just had to do was not leave. You know. So maybe splitting hairs. Back in the old days, it didn't matter. It didn't fucking matter. There was no such thing as a little bit bad or a little bit good, or you either were or you weren't. But that gray area in this day and age has grown quite thick, and you guys think it hasn't. And you say this shit, right? And you had the 1% bike clubs, and all you guys that are talking this shit about them 50-50 yards, okay? Them 1% clubs and dudes were all the brand, the fellas, but everybody was after them on the GP. They didn't have a choice. Self-preservation had their tips tell them, you go over to these yards, you survive, and you come out there, okay? And that dude, for one of them guys for a while to choose to go out to one of them yards meant they were choosing death, and to die for what, you know? And their own brothers told them, no, we'd rather have you alive and coming back out to us. You go over here and just don't kick it with these funny style dudes. And that's what they did, man. And they're not bad dudes. They never tell on nobody. They never debriefed. They never did any of that, right? Just couldn't win that fucking war right there. The whole fucking system turned on them by those guys. So they did what they did, man. They went over there, and I don't know if they're in good graces now again or what, but I know that's how it was. So you're saying that all bikers are bad? All bikers are no good? Any of them that have been to the joint? Who the fuck are you? You're no good. How's that? How's that sit with you? And then also for the remark that people took offense to, I did explain that on the lives. It was put up on the recording. It is what it is. It's there. And at this point, you either accept it or you don't. Either accept what I've told you as, okay, that's cool. We understand how that went down. And you're gonna be a little more sensitive to people. I mean, I'm not gonna get up here and sugarcoat everything. We need a little more sensitive than that to people's feelings. All right. But if you're one of those guys that are just gonna run your fucking mouth anyway and yada 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 and all this fucking shit, you know what I think? I think that's a you problem. Period. Period. And your problem is you can't get your mouth off the dub's nuts. That's the way I see it, you know. And I don't even care. Um, I mean, it is what it is. People take this YouTube stuff way too serious. Way too serious. You know, I noticed that after all them negative comments and shit, I had to sit down to have dinner. And you know what was a trip? Oh, it tasted very good. Still tasted the same. Not a difference. Your comments didn't affect my meal. I noticed when my wife gave me a hug and a kiss and I'm heading over here, felt just as good as it always does. The negative comments didn't change that. I noticed that when I got in my car and driving and I rolled the windows down because I do that a lot to let the wind hit me and just feel free. It didn't affect how free I felt. Actually, your negative comments, they really don't affect me at all. Like I said, they do help people. So positive, negative, or somewhere in between, you keep those comments coming. You hit like, you hit subscribe, and every other button up there, I can talk you into hitting. I'm about helping people, and this does that. And I'll get those certificates. I can remember all of them that I went by in there up on the screen. You can take a look at some of that stuff. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, what we're going to do is we're going to bring you. So I probably won't do the towel thing tomorrow night unless I do it in the beginning. But we're going to bring to you Eddie, and he's a Hawaiian. I cannot pronounce his last name, so I'm not even going to sit here and try to butcher it. But there are some distinct parallels going on in Hawaii and Maui right now that took place in LA about them fires. About all of a sudden there was no water to put them out. And then things went down and they're drying shit up again, and the water's not there again. It's a Kindle box. A lot of Hawaiians died in that fire, and they've got it all set up to burn again. I mean, so the question is there a Hawaiian genocide going on? And then Newsom and all them and his crews and all that are coming in, and they're offering to buy up that land that they burnt, that they shut the water off when it all burned up. The little man just can't stand a chance, huh? So I got the same little scenario going on in Hawaii, and we're going to get down with it, and we're gonna get in depth with it and find out a little bit about it, because I think there's some funky shit going on, man, and there might be a Hawaiian genocide taking place, and nobody even knows it because they're on an island and can't get the word out. Well, I may not have a lot of people following this channel, but I'm going to help them get whatever word out I can. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, hopefully, and I'll do it again. Hit like, hit hype, hit subscribe, hit 2 snow cones and a moon pie, some popcorn, whatever it is, man. Hit it all. Peace.